My name is Nena, and this is the story of how my grandmother, Ojimwin, brought Odo to Neken village. I was still a child when I first heard it, sitting on the dusty floor by the hearth as she told it to us at night. But as I grew older, I saw with my own eyes that the story wasn't just a tale to scare or impress children. It happened, and it changed everything for our people. My grandmother was a strong woman. Even in her old age, she would go into the bush to fetch firewood herself. People used to say it was because she didn't trust anyone to pick the right kind of wood. But on that day, it wasn't about the wood. She had gone deep into the bush, cutting and stacking branches on her head. By the time she came out, the sun was already sinking. She didn't notice that among the firewood, something strange had joined her bundle. When she got back to the compound, she bent her knees to drop the firewood. But before the load could touch the ground, a voice spoke. Not loud. Not like thunder. Calm. Serious. Old woman, do not set me down harshly. She told me later that her blood ran cold. Her legs felt weak. She dropped the rest of the firewood gently on the ground and left that strange piece of wood standing upright. Then she ran to my grandfather, shaking so badly she could barely speak. My grandfather understood it was serious. He called the elders. They gathered quickly, some with their staffs, others barehanded. My grandmother led them back to where she had left the wood. They watched in silence. Slowly, the piece of wood moved by itself, almost as if it was alive. That was when they understood, it wasn't just wood. It was Odo. The elders knelt. My grandfather poured palm wine on the ground, speaking words of welcome. They didn't shout or panic. They showed respect. That night, they performed rituals, calling on the spirits to receive Odo properly into our land. The next day, the whole village gathered. Drums played, people dressed in white, and the first Odo festival began. They called it Mbo Odo. It lasted for days. People danced until their feet hurt, but no one felt pain. Joy hung in the air like morning mist. I was too young to dance, but I remember standing by my mother, watching the tall raffia masquerades move around the square. Their carved wooden faces were calm, almost gentle. It felt like the ancestors themselves had come to visit us. That year, strange blessings came. Farmers who had always struggled brought in the best harvest anyone could remember. Young women who had been waiting for suitors found good, wealthy men who treated them kindly. Boys learning to carve, forge, or weave suddenly became better than their masters. Even my father, who used to come home tired and hopeless, started smiling again. And it wasn't just our village that saw this change. When word spread that Odo had come to Neken, people from neighboring villages started coming during the festival. They brought gifts, yams, palm oil, goats, clay pots. They offered them at the square, praying quietly for blessings. Some begged for children. Others prayed for rain or good harvest. And many went home with hope, telling stories that their wishes had come true. Because of Odo, Neken became known far and wide. We were no longer just another quiet village surrounded by thick forest. People spoke of us with respect, and sometimes fear. Even in times of trouble, Odo protected us. In the years after the first festival, there were moments when other villages challenged Neken over farmland or water paths. But our warriors always returned victorious. They didn't fight blindly. Before leaving, they visited the shrine, and the elders performed rituals. They tied sacred leaves blessed by the Odo around their waist and arms. People believed, and still believe, that those leaves carried the strength of our ancestors. And it seemed true, our warriors stood firm, like trees rooted in the earth. They were feared, not because they were cruel, but because everyone said they went to battle with the power of the Odo behind them. Even the Odo masquerades themselves became symbols of something deeper. When they appeared, people stepped aside. Children grew quiet. Outsiders who visited the festival lowered their heads, whispering prayers under their breath. Neken was small, but because of Odo, we became strong and known. The elders, seeing the blessings and respect, decided that the Odo festival would return every 2 years. Not as a festival of greed, but of balance, to remember our ancestors, share with them, and thank them. When the time came for Odo to return to the land of the dead, the drums grew slower, deeper. People stood quietly, watching the masquerades disappear into the forest. The air felt heavy, like everyone was holding the same breath. After Odo left, everything seemed even brighter. Children were born strong and healthy. The stream stayed full, and no roof leaked that year. People waited eagerly for the next festival, counting the months. But my grandmother, Ojimwin, saw what others didn't. One night, sitting by the hearth, she looked into the fire and told me softly, "Odo comes with blessings, yes. But it does not come empty-handed. And when it leaves, it does not go alone." At the time, I didn't understand. I thought it was just old people's way of speaking. But when I grew older, I saw what she meant. At the end of the second festival, a young boy from the next compound didn't wake up. His mother wailed until her voice cracked. People whispered that perhaps the spirits missed him. 2 years later, an old hunter lay down one evening and never got up again. People noticed the pattern. They still danced and sang, but under the laughter, there was always a quiet fear. Odo brings plenty, but it also reminds us that we belong partly to the living, partly to the dead. My grandmother never stopped going to the forest, though she always came back before dark. She said she had brought Odo to us without knowing, and she had to keep showing respect. Sometimes I would see her whispering under her breath, facing the trees. Now, years later, I tell this story so people will remember. Not just the joy and blessings, but the shadow that follows too. When you hear the drums in the night, and you see the tall figures in raffia moving like spirits between worlds, remember this. Odo does not hate us. It does not love us the way humans love. It remembers us, and it makes us remember where we came from. But it never comes or goes alone. That is what my grandmother, Ojimwin, taught me. And that is why, even today, when I hear the first drumbeat echo from the forest, my heart feels two things at once, joy and fear.